All right, so everyone should be here for system admin today.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna start with some introductions. My name is Angelo Greco. I am a systems training specialist here at Konami. I will be conducting your training today. I've been with Konami a little over a year and a half. Before that, I was in table games for 15 years. Um, Normally I go through the room, have everyone, you know, state your name and your title, and I always put on what's your favorite restaurant because everywhere I travel, I don't know where to eat. So I always get a little insight on where dinner's going to be. But just for this session, I'll just have you guys state your name and your title, just to make it go a little quicker.
Okay, I am Nina Dozier. I am the Director of Information Technology at Hollywood Casino in Baton Rouge, which will become the Queen Baton Rouge. John? Yeah, name and title.
My name is John Bertucci. I am the network administrator. I work at Hollywood Casino 6 years now, and my favorite restaurant is My Kitchen.
I get a lot of those.
Joseph, you want to go?
Can you hear me? I'm not sure if my mic is working.
It's working.
It's working.
Okay, my name is Joseph Auer, and I have worked with Konami at Sandia Casino and Resort in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I'm IT technician, and my favorite restaurant is BJ's.
Excellent. Nice to meet you. There's no order, guys. Just somebody chime in, state your name, your title.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
We can, Jeff.
Oh,
Or
hey, I'm
Toby.
Justin Rome.
Oh,
My
Justin.
third week here at the Bell. I'm a IT technician. My favorite restaurant is probably Superior Grill.
All right. Next.
Jeff Gilbertson, IT manager. I've been here since '94. Started out as slot attendant, worked my way up to slot tech, and then moved to IT. I get my favorite restaurant. I don't know, any steakhouse, I suppose. Trenton doesn't have a mic. He's my IT support guy. He's been here a couple years now. Just kind of fresh in the business, so.
All right. Excellent.
All right, so I guess I need to state my favorite restaurant. And
No, I was
say,
trying to skip the restaurant part for this just to make it go quicker, but everyone started doing
I know,
it. So
but everybody already told you theirs.
I know. So
So
yeah,
I'll just say Thai Kitchen.
Thai Kitchen. All right. I can't see the list of people on here. Is there anybody else, or is that everyone?
I think that's it.
All right. Excellent. Well, it's very nice to meet everyone. I'm looking forward to working with you. Couple rules. Be respectful. You guys have your phones. Turn them on silent. If you do need to take a phone call, go ahead, take a phone call. If you got to use the restroom before we take a break, go ahead and do that. Participate and ask questions. Ask as many questions as possible. That is why we are doing this today. There's no such thing as a stupid question, so feel free to ask anything, please. What we're going to go over today, we are going to navigate Synchros. I'm going to show you all the basic functions. And then we're going to get into managing employees, configuring printers and printer slips, set up repositories. Basically, repositories are set up on your monetary terminals to basically push transactions from one terminal to another. We are going to activate alerts and approvals. We're going to Most of the property settings are already going to be set up for you, but in the case something may be wrong or it's, you've got a different number that you need to put in, I will show you how to change the property settings. Same thing with the system settings. We're going to modify patron settings, configure kiosks and POS terminals. And last but not least, we are going to build batch reports. So getting started, each of you guys' computers and every terminal in the casino, we are going to install Syncros. All right, this is going to be like your shortcut that you're going to open up. And once you double click on that icon, this black DOS box is going to pop up. This needs to be open for Syncros to run. All right, so don't worry about it. Most people just minimize it and forget about it. And then in the background, Syncros will open up as well, so you can log in. Once you log in, we're going to give you guys a username and then a generic password. Once you type in that generic password, it will prompt you to enter a more personal password that you won't forget. So for instance, most casinos use the first letter of the first name and a full last name. All right. So if your name was Katie Onami, your login would be Konami, and then the password of your choosing. Any questions so far? There usually isn't.
No.
And the slideshow, and then we are going to get right into Syncros. I am using my Konami training instance for this class, just because we were going to use the Bell's training instance, so it would actually have some of your customers in there and information. But not all of the trainers that are going to be doing this super user training this week are licensed in Louisiana, so we couldn't use the training instance. I'm just logging in myself because this is a system admin training. So everyone in IT that is going to have a administration role, you're going to have full access to the system. But once you do log in, you're going to have some color on top. That is how you know that you are connected to the database. And on the bottom, you're going to have information. This is EMST3. This is my training instance. Yours is going to say, something along the lines of, Casino Queen Hollywood or just Hollywood Casino. And then next to that is your login. So it'll be your first initial and your full last name. This is the business area that you're working in. This is going to change depending on the module that you're working in. And then your gaming day, which obviously today is not the 7th, it is the 18th, but yours will be up to date. And then this main bank is the repository that I'm working out of. But a few, basic functions. We start with the search bar. This is kind of like our Syncros Google. You know how Google, if you type in to search something, but you spell it wrong, and then it comes up and it says, oh, did you mean this? Well, Syncros is not that cool. If you misspell something that you're searching for, it's just going to say, I don't know what you're looking for. I can't find it. But the search is pretty cool. So if you're looking for a specific report or a specific module that you can't find it, you can type in key letters or keywords in the search, like something like patron. And then you can choose if you only want to see reports, forms, or both. You can hit enter on your keyboard or hit search over here on the top right. And it'll come up with every report and every form that has the word patron in it. And then, the reports, if you click on the reports here, the parameters will pop up. And if I put the parameters in and hit OK, that report is going to pop up automatically. And then if you're looking for a certain form, if you click on that, it'll take you right to that form. The reports button. All right. if you single click the reports button. So I was just in the comp form. So my report button is only going to give me reports with a single click that are that I'm fumbling my words here. I'm sorry. It's going to give me the reports that are associated with that form. All right. So these are all the reports that are associated with the comp form. If I give reports a double click, it's going to give me every report that I have access to. All right. So normally system admin, they have access to every single report in the system. If you see, a bunch of reports that, you will never look at, you will never need. In this session, we are going to get into the roles, and I'll show you exactly how to get rid of those reports so they don't show up. And also some forms and modules that you guys will never look at. We can take those off as well. But this report is pretty cool. It's all going to start with the menu option. All right, it's all alphabetical. You can filter. If I click that, you can do from A to Z, Z to A. Same thing with the report name. You can do A to Z, Z to A. I always tend to leave it, the menu option. And then, if I'm looking for slot accounting, I will just scroll down all the way to S for slot accounting. And then the cool thing about the reports is you can run multiple reports at the same time. So it helps a lot of departments. At the end of the day, you have to run 5 reports. You have to send them in emails. You have to save them to a spreadsheet, whatever the case may be. You can choose multiple reports. So I can say, the cash drop variance report. I just highlight it so you can follow it all the way along to the right side over here, because you have to check mark preview and run in that order. So preview first, run second, and then my parameters will pop up. All right. The parameters are basically, what do I want to see in this report? Anything with a double asterisk is a mandatory field. So I can leave this variance blank, but my gaming day is mandatory. So I'm just going to choose a random gaming day. Hopefully I have some information in there. And then the rest of them are just filters. All right. So if I don't want to see the entire floor, I can look at a certain location. I can look at, a certain zone for slots. I can look at a certain pit. But if I want to see the whole floor, I just leave it blank. Same thing with denomination. They're all filters. And then I'm going to hit OK. And nothing's going to happen because it's waiting for me to choose another report. All right. So I can choose my cash out voucher report. I can do preview and run. And then each report have different parameters. So this is asking me to choose a start and an end gaming date instead of just one day. So I'm just going to look at the whole month of May. And then again, filters. Hit OK. And then let me do, let's do a patron tracking. There you go, patron activity summary report. Preview run. My gaming day. And then just kind of go down and make sure you have everything with a double asterisk is filled out. Most of them, except for the gaming day, will have something in there for you already. But you can hit the drop down and filter that as well. I'm hit OK. So now I have 3 reports I want to run. I'm going to hit process reports, and all 3 of them are going to run. So my cash drop variance, like I said, this is my training instance, so there is no information in there. I can either close it here or I can hit the X, but be careful hitting the X. I'll get into that in a minute. Cash voucher, there's no information on there either. What happened to my other report? Oh, it's back there. All right, patron activity summary report. We got some information in here. So we got our patron ID, patron name, previous balance, points earned, so on and so forth. Things we could do with this report. We can print on the top left. These are all zoom in, zoom out features. So, you can do one page, zoom out, and then you can see the multiple pages. This is pretty useless. You can look up to 6 pages, but like I said, it gets so small you can't really read it. Nobody really looks at that. You can zoom back in. I like 150% because it actually makes it so you can read it. This will take you full screen. This will close. This can export this report into a CSV or Excel spreadsheet. So if you didn't need some of these columns, you can export into a spreadsheet, get rid of the columns, rearrange them, whatever the case may be. You can save it to a PDF and then, send it off in an email. The reason I said be careful of hitting the X up here is because Synchros is right behind it. So if I hit that X and I'm in full screen, you can close Synchros and then you'll have to reopen it. There's these question marks on the side here. All right. So for one of those reports that I pulled up that had no information, say I wanted to see what is supposed to be on that report. So like, let's just say, game site activity summary report. I don't know what that's supposed to look like. It was blank when I pulled it up. I can hit this question mark. And this will take you to our help docs. All right. Whatever report that you click the question mark is always going to be at the top of the screen. All right. It's going to be the one that you clicked on. I can hit sample. And then it will give me a generic sample of that report and what information is supposed to be on there. All right. So my game site activity summary report is going to have patron ID, patron name, point balances, total wagers, things like that. If you do click on a report and you accidentally start scrolling and you can't remember, what report it was, just simply go back out, go back to that report, hit the question mark again, it'll be at the top of the screen. And this was the, let me go back here. So you see my menu is patron tracking. So when I hit a question mark on patron tracking, it's going to show me every patron tracking report that is in Synchros. Okay, all on the side here. If I clicked on a report for marketing, then that whole list on the side would be the marketing, all the marketing reports that would be in Synchros. If I was inside a module, so I'm going to go back to my comp issue. All right, this little double arrows pointing down. I could click that, and then again, I can get the reports that would go with the comp issue. And then I can actually look at reports without leaving my module. If I do click on the reports button, it's going to leave the module, and then you would have to go back to your menu button and find where you were. So this little thing, it lets you look at reports without leaving the module, which is pretty cool. Tools. You guys won't really be using this. It's mostly for table games or maybe even slots that have a touchscreen, all right, like a tablet. They can enable the alphabetic keypad and the numeric keypad, and then those will be check marked. And then all that does is if you click into a field that you can type or you want to put numbers, a keypad will pop up. It's pretty annoying with a keyboard and mouse. So if that ever does pop up for you at your desk, just remember to go to tools. And then if you click it again, that check mark will go away. History. History is going to record everything you do in your Synchros session. All right. So if you're updating a patron, if you're issuing a marker, if you're saving anything, if you're doing any changes, and let's say you make your changes and you hit the save button and you're not sure if it actually saved or not, you can come into your history, and then at the bottom it'll say record updated or marker issued. It'll say exactly what happened, and if there's any errors, I'll show you that in a little bit. We don't have to worry about tasks, but if you guys do set up tasks, it's just basically a a checklist of what you guys have to do today, that would be set up. And then you can just kind of check mark it, set up your own tasks. If we hit the double arrows on the side here, we can do tile view or classic view. With the keyboard and mouse, I like classic view. This tile view here is, again, for your touch screens, but some people like it better like this. So all your modules are here. And then if I were to click on marketing, it would show me all my forms for marketing. So if you do have this view and you don't like it, the double arrows next to help, you can hit classic view, and then you would have to hit the menu button and see your modules and your forms. Any questions on the basic navigation?
So for the history, can you actually
Yes.
run a report on the history for a specific range? Or person or employee?
Well, for the person or employee, that would just be in your reports. All right.
Uh-huh.
The history here, there is no report for this history. This is basically, it's basically just, logging everything that you've done. And if there is any errors, so here, let me show you. I'm just gonna go here, click on my menu button. These top three options here, exit will close Synchros completely. Disconnect will log you out. You can also just hit F12 on your keyboard. But I'm gonna go to change password. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna set up for, I can't remember exactly. I don't know if it was 30 days or 90 days that you're gonna have to change your password. But when you do change your password, you put in your old password, put in a new one, and then retype the new one. And you see how, because I clicked on that retype new, I got this error here, and it only lasts about 5 seconds. So in my history, I can see, oh, I had an error. I must set new password first. So for this history, it, like I said, it records everything you do, but it's mostly helpful for errors. So if I click on this error and I go to file and get info, I can't read this, because I don't speak Spanish, so I can't read this. But most of you IT people can read this stuff. So if there is any errors that you're having in Synchros, you can come in here and you can look at what the error is, and try to fix it. And if you guys cannot fix the error that's happening here, we can copy. It always does that to me. Hold on. Why is it not letting me? So usually I can click and drag and it'll copy all this information, and then you can send it to us in email, and then we can fix it on the back end, whatever the error may be. Yeah, I don't know. It's not letting me. It's not letting me highlight. But mainly, like I said, the history is, so we can catch those errors and then fix those errors on the back end. But there is no reporting on this list of history.
Okay.
When you do change your password, it's going to look like this. All right, you put in your old, put in your new, put in your retype. If you want to show your password, that's what the check mark is for. But basically, once all of these requirements turn black, that means everything has been matched for the requirements. And then you hit change password. And once you hit change password, this happened to me the first time I ever did it. I ended up changing my password 8 times because this screen does not change. I'm going to hit change password. It's going to say password updated down here on the left. But if you don't catch that little message, it's basically going to stay here and you're going to just be wondering like, okay, did it change? I always like to point that out to everyone because, like I said, my first time, I think I changed my password 8 times. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? But if there are no other questions about the basic navigation, I did send you guys the agendas, correct?
Don't know. Haven't looked. Hang on.
I believe
Yes.
I sent them on Saturday.
Yes. you
Saturday.
sent-
Yeah,
I
it was
have
just an email with everybody on it, and I put all the agendas for every class that we're having on those. Yep. Yeah, so these are all the agendas that I sent on Saturday. It would look
Well,
like.
I didn't get them.
You can get that.
Mm-mm.
So the agendas are gonna look like this. And it's basically gonna help us, help you guys follow along with the training today.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I think I got one yesterday for the marketing. I don't know if she sent them all. That was from Kat.
Well, let me.
Nina, I just forwarded it to you.
Okay. Okay.
you did?
Yeah, I
Thank
just
you.
forwarded too. You got
Thank you.
3 copies now.
Perfect. More than enough.
All right, well, maybe I'll just have to resend all of them again. Yeah, because I know I sent them.
Uh,
All right,
Okay.
Nina, if you could just forward that
Catherine's-
to everyone else on this
Catherine did
call.
send them again.
yeah, she did. Okay.
Say it again?
Yeah, I got them. Catherine sent them yesterday, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to pull that up or print it out, whatever, just to help you out with
Okay.
following along.
Sure.
So I'm just gonna start with number 2 on the agenda. We're gonna get into system admin and password maintenance. So most of this class, we're gonna be working on system admin. This is every system admin form, in the system. Most of these are for setup for other modules. So a lot of these are for marketing, a lot of them are for patient tracking, asset management modules, stuff like that. So we are not going to be going over everything today.
Okay.
Just mainly the IT and administration stuff. So I'm going to go into password maintenance. And this is used basically for when someone calls and says, hey, I locked myself out. I put in my password wrong too many times. Can you unlock my account? So how you do that is you go to password maintenance, go to verify your password. So this is going to be your password. And then put in their username, put in their new password, a generic password, retype it. You can check mark this to force them to change their password at next login. So when, if you set up, their generic password for 1111, when they enter that and log in, it'll have them change their password to something personal. And then if they remember their password, but they just, had the caps lock on and they didn't realize it, you can just unlock the account. Then you would just verify your password, put in their username, and then hit process, and that'll unlock their accounts, and then they can try again to put in their existing password. Next is system admin employee setup. So we're going to go to system admin, and it is abbreviated. Everything is alphabetical order here. And I'm going to go to E for employee setup. So basically this is all of the tabs and drop downs in the employees form under human resources. So basically, if you're going to keep track of your employees' addresses, you can put in address types, anniversary types. So hire date, termination date, any card types. All right. So if they have an employee card, you can give them a card type, basically what department that you're working for. Your email types, employee types, again, what department is an employee working for. Image types, if you're gonna input, like your employee's driver's licenses, Any license types, if you're going to keep track of their gaming license number and what type of gaming license they have. Note types on your employees or any phone types that you wanted to keep recorded for your employees. And then all of these are going to tie into the employees form under human resources, employees. So you guys are going to give us a list of your employees and we are going to upload them in for you. But you guys are going to get new employees, all right? And you're going to have to get rid of some employees, unfortunately. That is part of business. But to insert a new employee, all right, once you come into the employee maintenance form, we are going to start at the top here and go to department. All right, so where does the department work? Where's the employee work? All right, let's say the cage. All right, what type? All right, is he operations? Is he management? Okay. Select the language and then status. All right, if it's a new employee, you want to make your employee active. We don't need social security number or employee ID number, but we can make those mandatory fields. There's a setting in the back end. And then put in your employee name. So if it was Hollywood, I'm going to hit tab on my keyboard. And then you see the login name down here is going to basically default to the last name. And then when I put the first name, you know, Casino Queen, and I hit tab, it's going to default to the first initial. So first initial, last name. You can go ahead and click in here and change that as well. So there are some casinos that use employee numbers for their logins instead of first initial, last name. And then you can go in here and, you know, just put in an employee number if you want to use that for the login. I always suggest doing the employee first and then give that a save. I'm going to clear that out. I'm not going to save that, but I'm just going to find myself here real quick. And so if you do need to find an existing employee, you can hit the find up here. And then you can put in their login name or their first and last name or their employee ID number. I always do login name because it's usually quicker. And hit OK. So I just found myself. All right. Once I enter an employee name, I like to save it right away. And then I like to skip all these tabs and go over to the roles. So, you know, if it was, you know, a cage member, you can go ahead and give them, you know, cage operations or, you know, cage supervisor or whatever the case may be. Give them that role and then save that again as well. All right. And then I like to go back into the license. So like I said, that last form we were in sets up all of your drop downs, you know, all of your license types, you know, and then you can put in their license number. So if you want to keep track of their gaming card, you know, put in their license number, issue expiration date, you can go ahead and save it. If you wanted to keep track of multiple licenses, you can hit add on the bottom and say you wanted to have their driver's license in here as well. Save that. Addresses. So if you want to save their address, again, your address drop down, their telephone number, you know, telephone number types, email, again, email type, image, if you want to save like a driver's license image of your employee. Card. Are they going to have an employee card? So for slots, most of them have employee cards. This is where you would set it up. If it is already set up, you would see little asterisks for the PIN number, and then your card type would be your department, and your status would be active. Since I don't have a card type set up for myself, I would just go ahead and hit the plus button for the PIN number. I would give myself a PIN number. I would choose my department, my card, make it active. And then once I save that, you should do it at a terminal that can actually print cards. So for the cage, for example, because once I hit save, it's going to print out a card automatically. If you do set this up, you know, in a back of the house office or something and it doesn't have a card printer, no problem. You can save it and then go out to a terminal that does have a card printer and you can just hit reprint and then you can print that employee card. You can set up
So-
biometrics. Oh, go ahead.
So on the card, how do you distinguish, let's say, if it's a mechanic card or an attendant card?
Yep,
Or
we are going to
or
get into
what?
that.
Okay. I'll wait
Actually, we're gonna get into that next. We're gonna go to our roles. And that's where you can choose all the access that employee in that role can have with Synchros. Biometrics, if you have a fingerprint tab that you guys have, you can save an employee's fingerprint. That way, they can use that for logging in, and I really don't know what else you would use an employee's fingerprint for. But you can choose your fingerprint, and then it literally has a list of all the fingers. And then you can enroll them and then, verify them. Limits, you guys won't be using limits. This is a Mexico jurisdiction. Service areas. So you guys are going to get Kinetic, which is our handheld dispatch for slots. You'll set up dispatch zones. I don't think you guys will use this because, you guys have it on automatic and basically, the employee is going to log in and choose their zone on the Kinetic app. But, this is just like a secondary saying, all right, this employee can only work in zone 1 and, the Bronson's zone. You can select where the employee can work. But you guys will be doing this on the Kinetic app, so I don't think you'll have to do it twice. You can keep track of dates. So like I said, you can keep track of their hire date. And then if you did have to terminate them in the future, you can keep track of that as well. Any notes, that you want on the employee. Mandatory read notes are the ones that will pop up. So on any form, if you look up an employee, if it is a mandatory read note that you set up for that employee, it will pop up on the screen and you'll have to hit OK to get rid of it and move on. Defaults. If I had a slot attendant that is always gonna use the attendant pays and fills form, I can default a menu selection. So it's basically saying once I log in, I can default any of these forms to this employee. So if I choose my default as attendant pays fills, once I log in, it's going to automatically take me to that form. Not many people use it, but it comes in handy sometimes. And then if you do default the attendant pays fills, you can choose what the employee would have access to look at on that form. So you can say you can only look at your entries, you can only look at pending acknowledgement entries, or you can look at all entries. Table codes. You're going to use this if you're going to have your dealers logging in on the terminals. So you can assign certain games to the employee, basically preventing them from logging into a game that they do not know. And then again, the roles, you can assign multiple roles to an employee. So if you have an employee that wears a lot of hats, say they're the they're the cage manager, but they're also the players club manager, you can give them both those roles. And then micro reports. You can see what your employee, if they have an employee card, you can see what your employee has been doing today. All right. So for your cage employees, if they have an employee card, you can look at the transactions that they were doing, current day, previous day. And then again, all transactions. So if you have an employee that used their card to open up the slot door, and for some reason they open up the slot door 10 times in 10 minutes, you can go in and look at those times and then go and through surveillance or whatever and see why they're opening the door that many times. But you can look at your employee transactions. And then again, if you do terminate an employee, like I said, find that employee. And then once they get brought up, you would make their status inactive. All right. Or if an employee is suspended, pending investigation, you can lock their account so they cannot log in anywhere. And then if they do end up getting their job back, you can just go ahead and make their account active again. Any questions on the employee maintenance form? All right, that sounds like enough. So we're going to go into our security, all right, security module and our roles. All right, this is where we are going to set up the roles and what access the roles have in Syncros. So, like I said, most of these are going to be inputted for you by Terrence. You are going to give him a list of your roles. And then if those roles report to anyone, you can also assign that. But so if I go to, my cage manager role and I want to see what they have access to, I always like to start at the execute and I want to filter that. So I'm going to click on that twice. And then so I can see what this role has access to for my processes and my reports. And then if I hit the select twice as well, I can see what forms they have access to. So basically with a form, okay, that form is anything that you can add, update, delete. So if I only have my select checkmarked, that's basically read only for these forms. If I have insert checkmarked, that means I can insert new data. So like on a patron form, I can insert a new address or a new email. If I choose update, I can update existing data. So if they have a phone number and they change their phone number, I can go in and update the phone number and save it. And then if I have the delete option, I can delete data in these forms. So, a lot of roles, you want them to go into that form, you want them to be able to, insert new data and, read only, read the data and insert new data, but you might not want them to update or delete anything. You would just give them these two check marks. So that is forms. And then, reports, if you check mark that, is basically saying, okay, this role has access to those reports. And then our processes is basically saying, okay, for these forms, there really is no, insert, update, delete, but they either have access to this form or they don't have access to this form. So like the Chip Bank FC for the cage, that's where they're going to process basically all your monetary transactions. So any fills, credits, fund transfers, settlements, that's the form that they are going to process those transactions. If, for some reason, you don't want them to be able to do that, you only want those, to be on one terminal, say in the, in the chip bank, then your frontline cage cashiers, you wouldn't give them access to that form. Yeah, so when you go into the roles, like I said, click twice, filter them so you can see what access that role has. And then once you get to the bottom where there are no more check marks, this is all the access that they do not have. So again, it's gonna start in alphabetical order from your asset management to your, bingo, Cage of Vault. You would just go down and say, I want them to have access to, cash mailers, all right, in marketing. And then you can give them what access you want. And you see how when I clicked on that, there was a added feature down here. These are our FLSs, or function level securities. I always like to go into the patron tracking because there's more on these. So when I click on patron tracking, so I can give them the access to read only, insert, update, delete, and then there's also function level security as well. So this is basically saying, do I want this role to be able to see a full social security number in this form? Or do I just want to display the last 4 digits, or don't display the social at all? Can this role enable card level automation edits? Can they override note lock? Player history, and force a patron to look at player history so they can't look at the full floor. So on and so forth. So a lot of different forms. Some of them it'll have different FLSs. So let's look at a different one real quick. Patron surveillance. All right. So, for a surveillance form, do I want them to be able to edit the stop codes? And then there's also some forms that don't have any FLSs. So if they don't have an FLS, when I click on that form, it will just disappear. And then the next tab over is the employees. I can assign employees to this role right here. But they would initially had to been set up in the employee form to be able to see them in this list. And then, if you do get a new employee and you put them in and, you forget to assign them a role, you can just find their name, go ahead and send them over, and now they have access to that role.
So is this also where you would, if they change jobs, would you do that under the employee form, or would you do that here where you'd remove them from one and give them the other, or what?
I would probably do that from the employee form, because if they
Mhm.
do have multiple roles, you can't really see that here because I'm
Mhm.
I'm on my cage manager role, and I can
Mhm.
only see the employees for cage manager. So in that
Gotcha.
case, you might have to go through, every role to see if, that
Yeah.
employee is listed.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do that in employee form.
And can you get a printout of what they have access to? So
Yes.
usually, okay, good. Is
Yeah,
that in the
there's a report.
reports?
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
report. This API security, um, so they have been updating Synchros more and more every year. And a lot of our new modules, so I'll just go in here and show you real quick. So like our older modules look like this. All right, it has this like layout. And then our new modules are HTML form. So like our alerts setup, it's gonna look like this. All right. To where, if I click on something, this is how I would add, into these forms. These are our new HTML forms. Eventually, every single form is going to be in this format. And that API security and the roles, these are basically the FLSs for those forms. So the newer forms. So it's kind of the same thing. So you can, view only, insert, update, delete. They just renamed a few of them, but you know, like I said, cage process is, it's for the new HTML forms. These are the function level securities for those. And, what access you might have on those forms. Any question about roles? A lot of times, like an audit role, won't have, it should have access to every report, because it's audit. But for some reason, a lot of times when, the system is set up and you guys start using it, the audit role might, say, hey, I need this, certain like voucher report that, is not in my list. You can go in here, choose your audit role. And I always just, again, I would choose the type and, filter that to the report. And then you can go down and, like I said, down to your menu option here and go to slot accounting, find that report that they're looking for, and then just give them access to it. Just by check marking that and then saving it. And then next time they log in, they'll have access to that report. But that's mostly the changes that you guys are gonna have to be doing is, giving people reports that they need or taking reports away. Next on our agenda is number 3, and that's gonna be printer setup. System admin, printer setup. Printer setup is our biggest module, or our biggest form, I should say. And I am VPN'd in and I'm on Wi-Fi, so it always takes the longest to load this form. But it might take a little longer because, oh, never mind, that didn't take long at all. But I've been to certain sites, if you're on Wi-Fi or, you're not hardwired in, this form could take, 2-3 minutes sometimes to load, just because it's so big. So printer setup is where you're going to find all of your print slips. All right. So for your cage, obviously your cage has the most, print slips. There's a huge list. Again, we get, you guys to send us, basically a format of what your, slips look like right now. Your marker slips, your fill slips, your credit slips. And we will input those for you, before you go live. But for any reason that you might have to change one, adjust, this is where you would go to adjust those print slips. But like I said, for the cage, so we have, our front money slips, safekeeping, check buyback issue slips. You guys do purchase vouchers? I don't think you guys do. That's where, like, if I come into your casino and I have 10 grand in cash on me and I don't want to carry it around, I can go to the cage and basically buy a Tito ticket from you. So now that 10,000's on a Tito ticket instead of, cash.
We don't do that right now.
Okay, I didn't think so. But yeah, that's what the purchase vouchers are. Yeah. All your cage type stuff. Cards. This is going to be your templates for your employee cards and your patron cards. So if I was, setting up your patron card, you would find the printer. So find your card printer, and then you would default that, card printer in here. I could edit the setup, but it's basically, it's going to be a size of a card always. But I can edit the layout. So if this is going to be your patron card, I could have your patron ID and your card ID on here. But most casinos just have patron name and patron ID. and it does not say patron card on the top. All right, so for your casino, I would have to go in here because this is our default template. I can double click where it says patron card. And I can go in here and I can edit that. All right, I can delete that. But because there was
Yeah.
info in there and
Mhm.
I want to delete, I would just hit the space bar because it won't let me just delete everything and save it. I would just hit the space bar and hit save, and then that will not print out the card anymore.
Can you put an
Was there
expiration date on there?
Yes. I don't want to save. So if I go to insert text. You know what? The expiration date.
It'd be for a patron card.
I believe the expiration date, it will print on the card, but it's set up in like the card level automation. I believe we'll get into that later where it's set up. I can't remember 100% where it's set up right now. But yeah, I'm pretty sure in this training session, I'll get to it. But the expiration is set up on another form, but it will print on the card. Yeah, so like I said, your default printer, basically if it's installed in Windows, any printer installed in Windows, Synchros will be able to see here. And then you can choose how many copies you want automatically to print. So if it was like a W2G, you can default it to, 2 or 3 copies, whatever your processes are. The always ask is basically just going to say, all right, do I want the pop-up to come up and say, always ask where I want to print to how many copies? I'm going to go to the slot just to show you all the options. I'll go to edit layout. All right, so this is like the default jackpot slip. Again, if you need to change something, you can click on it. So you see these the 4 boxes. It's basically kind of showing you what you're clicking on. And if I double click, that's how I can edit that. Anything that has, it's kind of highlighted. Those are all variables pulling information from Synchros. So if I
So
go
you
to
can
my
add it.
ticket, what's that?
So you can add images in there too, if you wanted to do like the company
Yep.
logo or something. Okay.
Yep. But these variables, it changes from slip to slip, but most of them are the same. But so ticket number, for instance, if I also wanted card ID in there, I can hit card ID and hit insert. Nope. I don't want it there though. I want it after. I can hit a space and I can hit insert card ID. So then it would pull the ticket number and the card ID from Synchros. These are all your variables down here. And then you can align it in the center on the right. If I wanted to rotate it, so if I wanted it to be upside down for some reason, I can hit rotate and I can hit save, and now that's upside down. I'm not gonna do that though. So that's insert text. You can insert image. So if you have your casino logo saved on your computer, you can hit insert image, find where your logo is saved, open it up, and then anything that you insert new or insert image, it's always going to show up in the middle right away. So for instance, I'm going to save that. So it's always going to show up in the middle. And then I can click that and I can drag and I can put it wherever I want. So if I did upload an image, I could take that image, go here, and then, if I'm done, I could just save it.
Hey, what's the relevance of the box in the center? Because I find on some of the documents, like the text and everything will be up more to the left corner. None of it ever seems to fit within that outline box that goes in the center. So what's
This
that
box
outline?
here?
Yeah, what's that for actually?
That's a great question. I don't know. It's just on our defaults. I don't. Yeah, that is weird. Well, let me see something here. So this here, the dash is our lasso. I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna. Get everything, huh?
It looks like a safe zone for printing.
That is strange.
Yeah, it
Oh,
looks
yeah,
like
but-
with margins.
Well, but if with the overlay, with all of the document pieces overlaid over it, they would be printing outside of those margins anyway.
Yeah, it
Right.
would.
I'm gonna see. So I just lassoed all of these and I copied it. I'm
And
gonna
see how on
try
the
to-
form, see
I'm gonna
how
try
on
to
the
make a
form
new
onto
one.
the, under setup to the right, you have top, bottom margin 1 inch, left, right margin 1 inch. I bet if you change that, it'll change that box.
I don't think that has anything to do with the box, to tell you the truth. I think yeah, let me change it to like 0.25. I think that just has to do with how close the text will go to the edges of the page.
See, that's your margins.
Oh, I'm on the wrong I'm on the wrong page. Sorry, clicked on the wrong template. Yeah, see, if I put 1 in there, you can actually see it change up here. So if I delete that,
Yeah. Those are
oh,
your
it is the
margins. It's showing
margins.
you where your margins are.
You're
So if
absolutely
you need
correct.
if you need it to print out further, if you want to know, like I want a little bit of a margin, then it's going to show you where that is, whatever you select. And you know to keep it within that margin range. Even though obviously it prints outside the margins. Right, Barry?
It doesn't seem to care as long as you're formatting and as long as it's aligned
Mhm.
properly on the page, even just by sight, it's going to print outside the margin regardless. Just,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that is just a guide for you when you're
And
setting it up, if you want margins.
and actually it also auto corrects for, like, if I'm trying to put, let's say I wanted to, on test documents, sometimes they have test documents so big and they put it overlaid, like over on top of everything. If you try and do that, like in the boxes, if you try and adjust the font size to too big of a value, it auto returns or auto carriage returns so that the text continues to fit in the box, but it doesn't, won't go out past that set amount. If that makes sense. I'm not explaining that right, I'm sure, but
Well, anyway, I think that's what it is to let you know if you want certain margins, you set it there and then you can see where to put your text
Yeah.
within those
Yeah.
margins.
seems like it would be best to keep it at a quarter all the time and fit everything in the middle, just,
Or you could just do 0 and not worry about it.
yeah.
That's what he just did. So
That's
you
what I
can't even
just
see
did.
the
Yeah. That box
box.
went
Yeah.
away.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
I've never even noticed that box before. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, Barry's very observant.
It is my goal in life.
Is that everything? All right, so yeah, insert image, insert barcode. This move front to back is basically saying if my ticket, was kind of like overlapping and it wouldn't let me click on my date down here, I can click on the ticket, I can move that to the back, and then when I click on my date, it'll let me click on it. Because a lot of these, for instance, the W-2G form, everything is really small. And if I, click on player name and then try to click on player address, it won't let me, click. So I can just move that to the back and then I can click on my address. Stuff like that. Like I said, the lasso will let you like grab a bunch of stuff and then you can move it all at one time.
Yeah, see, this one, I think the margins would be good because you know how far the margins are and you can line it up better.
Yeah. Well, there's this ruler on
But it
top as
prints out,
well.
this prints out the whole form, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah. There's this ruler on top as well.
Yeah.
You can click on the ruler and make these lines on both sides, to make sure everything's lined up correctly. And then you can move these as well.
Right.
And then to get rid of them, you just click on that little triangle and swipe it off the page.
Right.
And you can also do grid lines, to help you line everything up. And you can do the size of those grid lines. And grid points. Yeah, and then once you hit save, you can name it. So if I were to go to my default, hit edit page layout, hit save, I can rename it, to
Hey, real
TQH.
quick, too, just, and maybe I'm just in my experience so far with this, not all things, I mean, these are reports, are specific reports. Like you don't have the ability, correct me if I'm wrong, Angela, to edit all reports in the system. You're just editing those particular reports that apply to these particular fields, like your, you know what I'm saying?
No, you can't edit any reports. It's just these forms,
Forms, I'm sorry, forms, yes.
like your W-2G form,
Yeah.
1042, your slot jackpot form, your slot fill,
Yeah, only
your
forms, I'm sorry, forms.
yeah, table closer, table credit, table fill,
On these custom, I mean, on these forms, like, is there also a custom form itself? Like, if you want to create a form yourself, know what I'm saying? Something that
you want to create your own template?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, even though, if I'm, if it's not on a default, say I have a template that I already, set up for Hollywood,
Yeah.
I can click on any template in this dropdown, hit edit layout. And even if I don't do anything to the layout, and if I do, if I make it look how I want to look and hit save, you can basically just, whatever you want your template, say you finished your template,
Yeah.
you can, name it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
The Barry template,
All right.
and then save that, and then you'll have to choose it and then save it. And then every time I print out a table fill, it'll be my template that prints.
But are you
And so
only
you
editing
save
under
it-
layers? I'm sorry, go ahead, Nina.
I'm just saying, you're just saving for that particular computer.
If so, say for entire game site, if you hit this button,
Mhm.
it's gonna save for the entire system. So anybody, anywhere, if they print out a table fill it's going to save to this template. Save for this computer is basically saying this terminal, I want to print this template. So it won't print out everywhere unless you go to each computer and save for this computer. But yeah,
So.
save for
so
this
let's
computer is
say-
just saying I'm saving this template for my computer, and anytime I print out on my computer, it's going to print this template.
Okay, so let's say you have 3 different pits, and each pit would do, I don't know, has to print a table fill. I'm just making it up here. Has to print a table fill on a different computer, on a different printer. How would you handle something like that?
So that would be saved for this computer. So you would choose
So-
the printer.
Okay.
All right. Choose your printer for pit 1. Okay. And then
Alright.
choose your template. And then you would save for this computer, and then it would that terminal would always print to that printer.
So we'd literally have to go to the computer and save it on each one.
Yes.
Oh,
If if those terminals are only printing to one printer.
yeah, okay. All right,
Yep.
Well, this is
Um,
kind of, this is, I think, the same thing that. No, never mind. This is something different. When we had the problem with the embosser, but that was a report that we had to go and define the report as to where the report defaulted to. But, I don't think this is the exact same area. I was about to say, if you get squirrely and somebody like sets this, like let's say they set it to the wrong printer where they're defining this, like this is where you're going to have to come play with this. You're not going to go mess with the printer. You're not going to go mess with the like Synchros per se is with the user login or role or anything. You're going to have to come in here and set where it's defaulting to print that voucher. I mean that.
But that's why I recommend also always ask. Because if this isn't defaulted correctly, you'll still get that pop-up saying, okay, we're going to print. You can still choose your printer and, choose how many copies.
Yeah, so this is where we had to make that adjustment then. So when we had that
Yes.
embosser problem in, it was because it was
Right.
defaulting a certain report. I mean, not report. What do they call these things again?
or,
Forms. It was defaulting that form, this one certain form they printed to close out. It was defaulting that to the embosser instead of the printer. And it was set
Gotcha.
to not always
Yeah.
ask. And so it would just default, take it straight to the printer, and we wouldn't even see what it was sending to the embosser. So that's why it's almost always great to keep it on always ask.
gotcha.
Yeah. At at my old casino, we actually got Synchros. And the first table jackpot I got, I printed everything out, and the jackpot slip printed out, but my W-2 didn't print out. And all of a sudden I could hear the card printer going and going and going. And it printed out my W-2 on like 8 cards. So yeah, someone defaulted the card printer to the W-2G form. So that was fun.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes. So yeah, that's safe for this computer and game site. You can restore the last save point. You can do a print test. And then at the top here, enable custom printing. Normally when we set it up, some of them are grayed out. That's because they were already clicked. But normally when we set it up, we go to each of these tabs and we click this. Because so Synchros, your W2G may look like this. Okay. But once you hit print, sometimes Windows likes to take over and say, nah, I don't like this layout. I'm going to print it out, how Windows likes it. So if you click this enable custom printing, it will basically tell Windows like, no, you are going to print it like this. So we normally just go through all these tabs and click that. And if you make multiple changes and you forget to click on these to save, I always, before I leave this form, I always like to just click save just in case. See? So this is basically saying like I changed something on my slot fill, but I didn't save it. So would I like to save for workstation or for game site? I'm not going to save. And then,
Okay.
yep, I changed something on the slot jackpot. I'm not going to save it, but you can save for workstation or game site. Yep, it's going to go through everything I did not save.
Okay.
So before I leave the form, I always like to click that. But any questions on printer setup? All right. I've been going for about an hour 20. You guys want to take a 10-minute break and get some fresh coffee? Use the restroom?
It's probably a good idea because well, wait. Yeah, it is probably a good idea. I got to see if there's anybody even in that room. I forgot about it. Okay. Sounds
All
good.
right. So I'll see you guys back here at 8:30.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, that is 10:30 your time. All right. Is everyone ready? Is everyone back? Can I continue?
I'm here. I don't know if everybody else is, but.
John's here. I'm here.
How about Nina?
She is not.
All right, well, we'll give her a couple more minutes. I know she had to run to another room.
I'm here.
What was that?
Justin checking in here.
Oh, yeah, sorry, John. This is my new guy, Justin. Justin Rome, John Bertucci.
Hey, Justin,
Hey, John.
you're Italiano?
Partly.
Because your name says so.
Yeah, I'm Roman.
Barry's a good guy, but you already figured that out.
Yep.
Don't ever make him angry. You're
John,
not gonna like it.
John, we're not going to lunch this week. We're not going.
Yeah. You don't want to make him angry because he don't like it when he's angry.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
He's a big teddy bear. I miss you, Barry. Anything you need, call me. You hear?
Yeah, no, man. We got to get together on that management engine thing soon.
Yeah, we're swamped over here.
No, I know.
They just dropped down in a you got to come see this, but they've got 2 generator shacks here that are gigantic. And today, just in front of my window, they dropped down 16, I like a 16 built chiller, like all in one big box.
Huh. Yeah, I've been meaning to come.
They're waiting
down
on you,
here,
Nina.
but I know y'all are strapped all the time, so, you know.
Oh, yeah. We're swamped. All right, Nina's back.
Excellent. We will resume then. So next up is number 4 on the agenda. We're doing system admin repository setup. All right. Just to show you, system admin repository setup. And this is where you are going to set up your terminals for monetary transactions. Again, most of these will be set up for you already. But if you had to, if you set up a new terminal in the cage or a new terminal on the slot or a terminal on the slot floor, and you had to set up a new repository for that terminal, this is where you would come to do it. On your repository tab, you can give your repository a name. So, for instance, like all the cage windows will have a separate repository. So it'd be cage window 1, 2, 3, 4, your chip bank, so on and so forth. I'm just going to find one that has information in it. So my main bank. All right, so my main bank, your repository type, if it's a mobile bank or, a cage window, choose your repository type. You always want to make it active. That way, it'll be able to work. And you always want to make it allow open for next shift. All right. That way, anytime you roll the gaming day, these repositories will automatically open and you wouldn't have to open them manually. If you guys do impresses, your slot impresses, make sure you mark can receive impress. You can also make it a default and say it requires an impress for operation. The master repository is for multi-site and mainly used for cruise ships. So that's normally going to be unchecked. But then you're going to choose your areas serviced. All right. What areas of your casino floor, do you want to be able to service with this repository? So if this was a cage window 1 and you only want it to service other cage windows, you would just put, the other cage windows in here, which would be, cage window 2, 3, 4, service those areas. Currency types, what currencies is this repository going to be using for transactions? If it's, just vouchers and cash, you can just put vouchers and cash. If you're going to be doing casino chips as well, like, table games chips, you can put the chips in here, front money, markers, any currency that the repository is going to use. And then movement is, where do I want to be able to move transactions to? And then what workstations will be able to use this repository? So these names here are set up with the IOP setup. So every terminal that gets inserted or set up in your casino, you're always going to want to go into the IOP setup and name that terminal. Otherwise, if you don't name the terminal, they're all going to be system generated, and then you won't know what workstations you're actually giving access for this repository.
Hey, let me ask you something. I noticed after our setup was done, there was a certain number of system generated workstations in our list. Is there some things that you don't have a say in their being named, and that's why you get that? Or is it just like maybe things that were being test created and just not removed after the fact?
No, it's so most of the system generated ones that will stay system generated are, people's personal desks, that they just didn't go into their IOP and name it.
Are you saying
Go ahead.
well, what do you mean they didn't go into their, you're saying they
So
didn't.
if I set up synchros at your desk, Barry.
Yeah.
All right, I set up synchros at your desk.
Yeah.
And at your desk, you're not going to use a repository, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not doing any monetary transactions at your desk.
Yeah.
So nobody probably went into the IOP setup and named your desk.
Okay.
So I'll bet you right now, if you bring up Synchros and you go into system admin IOP setup.
Yep.
Right here.
Yep.
I'll bet you the name of that is going to be system generated.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're going to get into IOP setup, but basically when you go to IOP and the description, it's going to be system generated. So if you don't change that to Barry's desk, it's going to be system generated.
Okay. I'm assuming you can only do that like at that moment, if you will, because once it's system generated, how would you know which one is which?
Well, you just click in there and change the name.
So you're saying then if I run IOP at any desktop, like if I run it from my desktop or Justin's desktop, right? When it comes up, when I launch IOP and it comes up and it says system generated, at that moment, that's my workstation. So I can change the name for my workstation at that moment so
Yes.
that it's right in the list.
Yes.
So when you run IOP, no matter where you're running it from, it's running it for that workstation at that time.
Yes.
Okay. That's good to
So,
know.
I mean, like I said, most people's personal desks, they won't set up the IOP, because, you're not going to be, working out of a repository at your desk. So it'll just say system generated. Settlements are, I don't believe you guys are using settlements right now. Is that correct?
Can you define exactly what it is?
Settlements is just to basically reconcile, um, reconcile the terminal at the end of the day.
I would imagine they would have to use that in a cage.
Yeah, I would think they'd want to, yeah.
Well, a lot of casinos, they do settlements, but they use, uh, uh, what do I call it? They use like a different program for it. A lot of people don't use our settlements in Synchros. They do settlements at the end of the day, but I think most people use Every for that. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, we use something that was written in Excel and Visual Basic, so, well, Excel anyway. I
Yeah,
think
we
Yeah.
use something for closeout sheet for each cashier in Excel also.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe this is future proofing.
Yeah, we can definitely have a more in-depth conversation about settlements.
Yeah.
But mainly if you're not using settlements, it's the first tabs here up to workstations that we set up. And then if you guys have slot impresses, we'll set up the impresses here. Well, the impresses will be set up in a different form, but then they will flow over to here and you'll be able to see them. And then you can choose what impresses that you'll be handing out for this repository. So you would select the impresses that would go along with this repository, and then you would also select the employees that can take out those impresses. Ticket locations, it's for purchase vouchers. Inventory locations is if you have multiple chip banks. Transferable transactions, this is for funds transfers. You can set up, certain funds transfers, whether it's credit, debit, or both. And then this is for settlements as well, basically saying, what is your order of operation for your settlements? If you have a mobile bank or a floor bank, the cage window can pull the settlements from these two into the cage window, and then the main bank can pull it from the cage window to complete those settlements. But that is your repository setup. Any questions on that, guys?
I basically just as a note, this was all set up during the go live. I've
Yes.
teetered around in this when I was doing some testing in the test lab and stuff, as far as because I had to associate workstations to repositories. But as past that, I've not really touched this since go live. So
No, yeah,
for the most,
we will set all of this up, prior to go live. So everything, we'll make sure everything flows correctly to where it needs to flow to. But if you ever need to make changes, like I said, if you need to, if you added an extra workstation in the cage, you would have to go into the repository, make sure that I can see, that cage window, and then make sure I can move transactions to that cage window, or, or that cage window can move transactions to me as well.
So, Impress, would that be something where you would set up like your F&B banks that they check out?
Yes. So,
Okay.
like a bar, cash drawer,
Right,
or if you guys do slot pouches, yeah.
okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Next is currency setup So again, this is all going to be set up for you initially. But if you ever had to add a new currency, you go to your menu button, go down to finance and currency setup. So for your any currency you guys are going to be using, your US dollars are obviously going to be set up for you already. Someone likes to make jokes and make a $3 bill in our test instance. But obviously it would be a $2 bill, not a $3 bill. It's already going to be set up for you. But, say for instance, if they brought back the $500 bill for any reason and you need to add it to your currency setup because you need to use it for repositories and fills and credits and stuff like that, you can click in here, hit insert on your keyboard, and that'll add a line. And then you can make your $500 bill, give it a description. And then save that. If you need to add one. Same thing for your casino chips. Here. We have a lot of stuff in here. People have been playing in this test instance for many years. But say you have your casino chips. All right, you have your 1 to what's your biggest casino chip right now? The highest
know.
denomination.
I don't know. I'm gonna guess 500. Maybe.
Okay, well, let's say it is 500. That's your biggest casino chip. All right, and all of a sudden, it's starting to get busy. You're starting to get really, big players, and you needed to add $1,000 chip. This is where you would go. All right, you would choose your $1,000 chip. Denomination, name it, name the color of the chip, and then we have a color wheel. When you click on that, you can choose the color of that chip, and then save it. And then again, that would add that denomination to your inventory, and then it would, add it to the repository setup with the, currency types, so on and so forth. If you, say your $1 chips were blue and they were all old and, they were getting beat up, and you wanted to go ahead and destruct all your blue $1 chips, and then you get new ones and they're white. Again, come in here, change the color, and then save it. If you need to add a new one, all right. So say, your marketing wanted to get a, Chinese New Year promotional chips, or, a special 4th of July promotional chip. You would just make a new currency. You can call it promo chip July 4th. Brief name, promo chip. Oh, so the brief name only lets you do 8 characters. So you can just, do promo. What kind of currency type is it? Is it cash? Is it chip? Is it coupon? Choose chip. Then subtype. Standard, reserve, foreign, promo. And then country. I can, type in a couple key letters so I don't have to scroll all the way down. United States. Make sure it's active. And then obviously your promo chips, you wouldn't let them buy back a check with it. They wouldn't be part of the impress, and you wouldn't let them buy back a marker with it. You know what? This is a little glitch that we have in our system. I'm just going to leave and go to a different form real quick and come back. And then those won't be checked.
Are you saying that, is that a little glitch just with this module?
No, it's just a, it's just a glitch with my test instance. Once I find a currency, it shows what is checked, but when I clear it out, for some reason, it doesn't clear.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, these will all be unchecked because, I'm not gonna let a promo chip be used to buy back anything. And then what denomination promo chips are you buying? Say you're gonna get $5. And then these are gonna be red. I'll choose red. And then I can insert on my keyboard.
Yeah,
Um,
whenever you're doing this is the only module that applies to. So when you're doing things in the system, most times there's to add something, you insert it, and you can delete with the delete key also. Certain things.
Yes, there are many forms where there is not like an add or delete button up here, and they have lines like this. All those forms, you would just click, somewhere and then hit insert, and you can insert as many as you want. And then again, if you don't like what you did, you can hit delete on your keyboard and it will delete those.
Yeah, a lot of instances when you're messing around with setting up stuff as far as for the emailing, texting, cell phone stuff, all that stuff, it was very puzzling at first. Like, there's no add button, a plus button. It's the insert key.
Exactly.
Hey, also, did you or have you gone any of these screens with them? Have you gone over what the help function does on that particular screen?
Not yet, but I'm gonna get into that.
All right.
You
But yeah,
did show
so
us
let's say
help on a couple things, though.
what was that?
You did show us help on a couple things like reports.
The report.
I mean, help
Yep.
function is really good in Synchronous. I'll give it that. A lot of times
Yeah.
when you're looking for a report specific to an area, it'll have the name of the report and such in the help file as opposed to just referencing a report.
Well, since you
Right.
mentioned it, I'll just get into that right now. So if you ever need to add a currency and you don't remember how, or you don't remember, like what some of this stuff is, every single form has a help function. All right. So if I hit my help, it will basically go into detail. I need to fix my scroll speed. It's ridiculous. It'll go into detail on what this form does and how to use it. All right. So it'll give you your general information on what the form does. So, defines the currency types, denominations used at each site. And then every option of the form, it'll give you a description on how to use it. And then like Barry said, all these like highlighted ones, you can click on and get additional information. And then, it just literally describes every piece. So not on this form, but there are forms where it'll be highlighted in like yellow, and it'll say, this GST setting would do this for you, and another setting would do this, and then it would give you a list of like what reports you can look at to see, the certain settings.
Yeah, so if sort of like a functionality of the report is missing, it references that GST. So you know where to go hunt it down.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, the help button is definitely, I love it. Like that, it's mostly how I learn, what each form does for myself, so then I can train you guys. I use these help docs every single day. Very, very helpful. So any questions on currency setup? So yeah, once I would save this, then I can basically assign this currency to transactions.
Also, and if you get somewhere, if you get somewhere along in this, I think I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. You get somewhere along in the setup, you know, and you've gotten to areas where you haven't saved or whatever, you can just hit clear. It'll clear the whole document.
Yep. Yeah, so if I didn't like this at all, I can just say clear and then it's gone and I can start over.
And then don't expect that you're going to get like when you click save, you're going to get are you sure? It doesn't do that. You just hit save and most of the screen blinks or the save goes white and back to blue. But it's very
Well,
unpronounced.
when you save it, you'll get a little message on the bottom left here saying, you know, record updated.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. If anytime you're troubleshooting something in Konami and you're curious as to, you're not going to get a box in the center of the screen that says like doesn't compute or something. You're going to get it's always going to be in the bottom left corner. And it doesn't stay. So you have to watch if you're applying things to make sure that you're getting a valid response and you're not getting an error, because it's going to flash the error for a few seconds and disappear. But then also,
Yep, stays on there for like 5 seconds, but like I told you guys before, once you save and you know, you're not sure if it did save or not, always go to your history and then it'll say, you know,
correct. Yeah.
Record updated. All right, next, we're gonna go to system admin, alert setup. So this is where you're gonna set up all your system alerts. You know, there are hundreds and hundreds of alert types, and transactions in here. If you know what kind of alert, we're gonna give you a list of these, and I believe, you know, you guys are gonna tell us what alerts you want active right away during opening, and we're gonna set that up for you. But if you ever had to add a new alert, on the top here is a search. You can type in key letters, you know, to find a certain alert. So if I type in, you know, like MAN for manual, it's going to basically just drop my list down to a few. And then I can choose the alert that I want. So all the alerts where the bell is empty, there's no alert set up for that transaction. The ones that have a color bell, it's just saying, okay, there is an alert set up in here already. So if I were to click on that, I can see what that alert that is set up is. And it's basically saying, okay, anytime a manual attendant pay cancel credit is acknowledged, it's going to send an alert to the administrator group.
But well, there's a lot more associated to this to make this work though. This
I'm not done, Barry.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. My bad. My bad.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, Barry might be teaching it next week.
What's that?
Said Barry may be teaching it next week.
Yep, he's gonna have to do the refresher training next week. But so that was an acknowledged step. All right. So let's say I want to see every time attendant pay cancel credit gets paid. All right, not just acknowledged. I can click on that and say, go to my plus sign and say, all right, once it gets paid, what group type do I want to see? Do I want this alert to go to? All right. So most of the time it's always going to be role. And then I could choose my role. All right. So if I want it to be administrator, I'm going to click administrator, or, you know, I mean, mostly, you know, this will be like cage managers or, you know, slots or that type of role. But for this instance, I'm just going to do admin. Your floor amount. So if I leave this at 0, I'm going to see every cancel credit paid starting at 0. If I don't want to see like the little ones, I can make a certain floor amount. All right, so I want to see cancel credit paid over anything over $1,000, and then my ceiling amount. If I just type a bunch of nines in there, it's basically saying I'm going to see the max. I'm going to go back to 0, and I'm just going to say, all right, I want to see every single cancel credit that gets paid. The alert value is I want to see the amount. All right, I want to see the amount that gets paid. So there's 3 types of alerts. All right, there's amounts. It says variance, but it's really like an action. All right, so the variance would be an action like every time a slot door opens. All right. And then there's points alerts as well. So if there's any point adjustments or, along that, anything that has to do with points, you could set up that alert as well. The variance and the points, your floor amount would always just be 0. All right. You don't need a floor and ceiling amount for the variance and the point alerts. If it's an amount alert, a monetary transaction, you would have to have a floor and ceiling. If you leave the floor alone, like 0 and 0 on the amount, you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get an alert for that specific transaction. You don't have to worry about that. That's not for your jurisdiction. That's for Australia.
Can you tell me what that means then? What is AML?
AML restricted?
And the reason I ask is because sometimes I find that on alerts, it will turn that on itself. And so I'm curious, well, what exactly is it for?
It's an Australia function. They have a lot of like weird gaming regulations.
That Australian money laundering that stands for or something?
No, it's it's the same, AML that we use here, but they needed this button.
That's money laundering, anti-money laundering or something.
Yeah, anti-money laundering.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh, okay.
They needed that button added for one of their jurisdiction requirements.
Okay.
Where is it?
I don't really ever seen anything even in
Here, AML restricted. So when it's set, it alerts to see if chosen transactions is for a locked day in Austrac. So Austrac, like I said, is Australian. And it literally only flows over to that Austrac form.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to me.
Yeah, so don't worry about that. Okay,
I got
now,
a really good form too, Nina. Somebody sent me, I can't remember who it was that sent it to me, but an additional breakdown of all this section, like what everything means and outstanding.
Uh-huh.
no, yeah, I highly recommend, using the help docs for every form because it gives you a whole lot of information.
Yeah, it does look that way.
So now I have my floor and ceiling. All right, the amount of cancel credit that I want to see in my alert. So now, do I want to have a color view in the surveillance form? I'm going to say yes. Do I want to have a little noise that, if I have the surveillance form open at my desk, do I want it to make a noise every time an alert comes through? Do I want to have a print message? If you have your phone number saved in that employee form, you can set up SMS messaging, so a text message for those alerts, and also emails for the alerts. And then for this specific alert, what color do I want it to be on my surveillance screen? You can choose whatever color you want. And what do I want my alarm to be? All right, so sonar is more appeasing to the ear. It's like a submarine, a little sonar ding. Crash and metal sounds like you're kind of throwing a glass against the wall, not very appeasing to the ear. And error, is like just a, horn message or horn sound. The print message. So whenever the alert is triggered, you can set up a print message for that alert. You can type in your own, say, cancel credit was paid. Or what I would always do is use my variables. So I'm gonna go back to my help doc. And if I scroll down, about halfway to the help doc, we have these variables, all right? All the parenthesis ones, and it kind of gives you a description on what you would see. So if I highlight the employee name and employee ID, I can Control C on my keyboard and copy those. And then I can paste them right in here. And then basically these variables are going to pull information from Synchros. So if I was the one that paid a cancel credit, in the message on the security form, it would show my name and my employee ID saying I am the employee that paid this cancel credit. If you also wanted to see the location of where it's being paid, so what slot machine has the cancel credit, I can copy that as well, and then paste that in there too, and then I can see the employee ID, and where he's paying the cancel credit. Same thing for email notification. I can just say copy this. Whoops. And I can paste that in there, and then that's going to be the subject line of the email once that alert hits. And then I can hit add once I'm done. And now I set up that alert. And now anytime there's a cancel credit that's paid, I can go to my security and my surveillance form. And then, so there's a bunch of different alerts set up for the administrator role. And these are all the alerts that have triggered. All right, so I got a voucher expired alert, attendant paid jackpot requested, electronic promotion issued. So like somebody issued free play, point adjustments, and like I said, you choose your color. It'll show you device, location. This is the document number. If it has a monetary value, it'll show you the value. If I click on this jackpot, I can get some more information down here. This is that print message. That's where that message comes up. It says manual jackpot requested, zone M, bank 13. So those variables, I'll bet you they typed in manual jackpot request for the print message, and then they use that location variable for the message as well. And then you can see the quantity. So if you set up like table fills or table credits, you can click on those, and then it'll actually give you the details of that filler credit, of each denomination. Since I have 2 roles assigned to me, there is no audit alerts, but if I click on my administrator alert and I have 2 roles, I can float this frame, and then I can look at my admin alerts and my audit alerts at the same time without, clicking back and forth. I can dock that as well, and then, flip back and forth if you want. And also, like, you always want to acknowledge your alerts. You want them to fall off of here, because once it gets to like 500 alerts on this page, it won't give you the new alerts until you acknowledge the old alerts. You can literally like click and drag and then acknowledge all of them at the same time. Or you can use the control key and click on one and click on this one, click on that one, and acknowledge like those 4, and then leave the other ones. But you want to acknowledge your alerts. So any questions about alert setup?
Do you know in the entire time, never mind, another subject.
All right. Next up is approval setup. So approvals. I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna hit ATT, all right? And we're gonna go to our jackpots. Didn't pay jackpot, all right? I'm gonna say paid. So right now, this approval is set up, so this is gonna be your like main cage role, all right? Your cage cashiers. The cashiers pay the jackpots, right? They give the cash to the slot attendants.
Yes, yes, they do.
Perfect. So this approval is basically saying my cage cashiers can pay. Actually, this is just a bad example. See if I can delete that. So I just clicked on that and I hit delete on my keyboard. Oh, I can delete it. Perfect. I'm gonna click on that. I'm gonna insert.
Hey, on the side
Um,
note, this is an important one to know because this is one of the things that Derek's required that we set up right. So this
Oh,
is
okay.
definitely one that you need to know.
So I'm just gonna say this is my frontline cage cashier. All right, cash ops. And a cage cashier can pay up to they can pay up to $3,000, all right, without approval. Okay. I'm going to insert one more and I'm going to say my cage supervisor can approve up to 10,000. So as it is right now, my cage cashiers can pay a jackpot up to $3,000. My cage supervisor can pay up to 10,000. And then my cage manager has the max. All right. So they can pay anything, any amount. If I make a group approval, that would mean that I would have to have more than one person approve the transaction. If I leave it as one single person, it's just, your employee count will be one. And that's just saying, so if I get a cage cashier and it's a jackpot for $4,000, a pop-up window will come up. I'm gonna hit my help doc and it'll look like this. Okay, it'll say approval. So this will pop up. And then your supervisor or manager would have to put in their credentials, hit accept, basically saying, okay, I approve this transaction for the $4,000 jackpot. And then that cashier will be able to pay that jackpot. Same thing with the supervisor. If it's a jackpot over 10,000, we would have to get the cage manager to approve that transaction.
So
Make sense?
let's say the cage cashier, I guess the cage cashier gets a request for $5,000.
Yep.
So when they go to try to put it in or whatever they do,
Yep.
it's gonna come up and say you need the cage supervisor approval, right?
Well, it'll be supervisor or manager because both of them can approve over.
Yeah, supervisor or
3,000.
manager. Okay.
Yep. So just one.
And remember, this is based on transaction. So this isn't like a global application. You're defining it per transaction type.
Yep.
To be honest, I think the only place we've used this so far is we use it with the slot floor attendants and when they're paying jackpots. That's it.
Yeah. Most casinos only use like probably 2 or 3 of these approvals. Others, they like to get approval on everything and they do a bunch of other transactions, but the main one is, jackpots.
Yeah, and you got to define it for both manual and automatic or system generated and or manual when you define the
Yeah,
two
so
different ones.
this would be a system generated jackpot. So, someone hit one on a slot machine. You would definitely want to set up the manuals as well.
Okay.
And you have
Very.
a
Um,
relevant GST to turn on for this to all show up on the report together. Because there's a report that you can generate for jackpots, but it doesn't show up. Initially, the system does not generate the approving supervisor's name on the report for some reason. And it's a GST, you got to go sign and turn on before to correct that.
What is a GST? Wherever that
Well,
is.
get to that.
it's a game site setting, global setting.
Yeah.
We'll get into those as well.
Okay.
Sorry, getting ahead. My bad.
But this mode here, if you do auto self-approval, so if a manager is, or let's say a supervisor is logged in on the computer, and they're doing a transaction for $8,000 jackpot, it won't have that pop-up come up on the, for the approval, because they're logged in and they have access to approve up to 10,000. So if they're doing an 8,000 jackpot, it'll just let them do it. It won't have a pop-up. If you force approval, it's just basically saying the pop-up's going to come up every time they do a transaction, but they can put in their own credentials to approve it. And then peer approval would be, if it was a cage cashier, they can have another cashier approve it. So the same role, but you're just having somebody approve it. And then,
Okay,
like I said, if you check
very.
mark the group approval, you
Yeah.
can change the employee count. So let's say if I put a 2 here, that would mean if I'm doing the transaction, I would need 2 other people to put in their credentials to approve that transaction.
Okay.
Does that make
Very.
sense?
Yeah, very. Can you send me a print screen of how you guys are set up for this?
Yeah, it's on the punch list.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so you have your attendant pays, and then your manuals are, huge. Like if anyone's doing a manual jackpot, I would set up, an approval at 0, because I want to know why you're doing a manual jackpot. Any other questions on approvals?
Hey, let me ask you something on the, because I know there's something in the approval process for remote approvals. Where like, I'm assuming if you're logged in on a workstation somewhere, like if the manager's logged in on a workstation, unable to get to the
Yes.
floor at the time, the approval can come to his workstation, I guess is what it is, and he.
So remote approvals are awesome. Because let's say, your cage managers in their office and it's on a different floor, or, in the admin building. And a cage cashier is trying to cash out, a jackpot for 4,000, but they only have access for 3,000. When that approval gets popped up, they can hit remote approval, and that'll basically send that approval to your desk. And then you'll get a notification saying, hey, you have an approval pending. And then at your desk, you would hit tools, go to remote approvals, and that approval box will pop up here, and then you can just approve from your desk.
At the same time, though, you have, Synchros obviously has to be open for this to work. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't
Well,
have like a.
Or, if they need approval, they can, call. They can
Yeah,
call
well,
you
no,
at your desk and say, hey, I have an approval. Can you, approve it for me? And then they'll have to go in here, log in, and then,
Well, I guess why I asked the question is if you you mentioned earlier, if they're logged in, let's say they're set up where oh no, never mind. They would be at the workstation where this is going on. Never mind.
Yep.
I answered my own question.
Yep.
But yeah, we've
Remote
never
approvals is
used
cool.
this before, but it seems like it would be Now, let me ask you, one of the things when you clicked on there, it said off duty or off site or whatever it said. Is that if this was all set up with alerts and emails and all that stuff? I'm assuming that if you set it as off site, then what, it would go to it would email them or something? They could do it through email, or no? Well, what is that option for?
What do you mean, on the site defaults or site maintenance? One of those?
No. When just now, when you were in the, we were talking about the remote acknowledgement stat off shift.
Oh, this here?
Like if you click off shift, what does that do? Then it just doesn't go to that person. It gives them a message saying they're off shift.
You know what? Truthfully, I don't know. I think this is just kind of like, you know how on Teams you can, choose if you're available or busy or, away. I think
Okay.
it's kind of the same.
Okay. I'd be curious just to know if you click off shift or you click busy off floor, but if it just would give them a message then at the workstation where they've clicked remote approval and it says they're not available at this time, or
I would have to look into that.
Okay.
I'll parking lot that and,
All right.
get back to you. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of like Teams, right? Where I can click on me and I can say, hey, I'm available, I'm busy, do not disturb, I'll be right back, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'll look into that. I do not have an answer for you on that one. Anything else on approvals? All right. Moving on to number 6, we're going to get into our IOP setup. So system admin, IOP. And again, every terminal that we install Synchros, I would, recommend you, once you go in here, you're gonna have your IOP ID. All right. This should not change ever unless you get rid of your old computer and you get a brand new computer. Then it's gonna make a new IOP for you. But I recommend naming your workstation and then your type of workstation as well. It's always going to be Intel workstation most of the time, unless it's in table games. It could be your touchscreen dock if you guys have tablets on each of the games. Your host name and IP address are going to be auto-populated. And then the devices tab, you need to choose your game site. All right, so yours would be, Hollywood. Your zone, bank, and device. So for instance, table games, tablets, you can literally say, all right, this is a table game, and I only want this terminal to be able to see pit 1. And if you don't want it to see all of pit 1, you can actually go down and say, okay, I only want this terminal to see BJ1. Okay. Because, once I log into this terminal, I don't want to be able to see other table games because I don't want to, confuse, I don't want to be working out of BJ2 when I'm thinking it's BJ1. So it basically narrows it down to what your device can see. And then these available codes would be, in that employee form. Like I said, for the dealers, if you don't want them to be able to log into a game that they do not know, you can assign the game for this terminal. So this is BJ1. This is a blackjack terminal. If you leave them all unknown, that will basically give you access to the entire floor. Repository, all right? If this was a cage window, okay, you want to set up a repository for a cage window. Same thing for your table games terminals. Okay, you want to set up to where you want to do transactions with the chip bank. All right. So, you know, my chip bank. Each terminal can only be assigned one repository. All right. So it's basically saying what terminal is this, what repository is this terminal going to do transactions with? So if it was table games, it's doing transactions with the chip bank. You would only set them up for the chip bank.
Hey, there's nothing that actually ties a workstation to that repository, is there? And what I mean by that is, say like that workstation dies, and I replace that workstation, but I still want to use that same repository with that workstation. There's no like cross-reference between the name of that workstation and that repository that Synchronous makes, right? Like I can just reassign that repository to the new workstation.
Correct.
Okay.
But you would have to reassign that repository to the new workstation. Otherwise, it won't work.
All right. Thanks.
Yep. Ports. This is
Oh, wait, so
future.
can we go back to repository? You said only
Yep.
one per workstation, but what if they
Yes.
do main bank? They also, that workstation does chip bank. How would you do that?
So mainly each terminal is how do I put this? Each terminal is only going to do transactions with one repository.
Well, I'm not sure that's true, but okay.
So like if it's Cage Window 1, all right,
Mhm.
they want to be able to do repositories with the, you know, the main bank or the vault. All right. So you would set up Cage Window 1 with the vault. Same thing with Cage Window 2. You know, you're going to do transactions with the vault. You know, I'm not going to do transactions from Cage Window 1 to Cage Window 2.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
All right, I'll have to see how that works.
Yeah. I mean, once, you know, once it's go live and you're actually doing transactions, you'll see that. You'll see it. You'll see how it works. The ports is not used right now. That's future. But properties. All right. So these are GST properties. But if you set up these properties in your IOP setup, these are going to supersede your GSTs. All right. So if you have so a lot of these settings are the same settings as the GSTs, but let's say I set it up in here where the one I always like to use is reprint employee and patron cards. All right. So if I set these to 1, that's basically giving me access to reprint employee and reprint patron cards. To where if in the GSTs, which are the global settings, if it's set up at 0 to where I cannot reprint cards, my IOP setting is going to supersede the GST. Does that make sense? So the global setting is set for the entire game site. But I'm going to go in here and
Yeah,
say,
gotcha.
well, I want my terminal to be able to reprint cards. So I'm going to turn it on. And this is going
Alright.
to, you know, default over the GST setting.
Okay, gotcha. And what was ports again?
Ports is not used. That's you know, that's a future thing that they're working on.
Okay.
What is the can't you too, if you go to the see what's like, if you go to find, like if you go back to IOP and you go to find, can't you see what things are already predefined by
if I go to
just clicking
find,
on
it's just
the
going to find other IOPs.
Yeah, there we go.
It's going to find other workstations that are already set up.
But isn't this also have your Does this also contain your interfaces too?
Yeah, it should. It'll have your POSs and kiosks.
Yeah, so this is where you define those interfaces between like Tom Windward for the reporting and all that stuff that we had to set up. You have to define all that stuff in here for it to work properly.
No,
I'll just tell Nina this for like, I'm assuming y'all had to set it up on ACSE somehow to make it work. Well, when you come into Konami, you have to set up those interfaces in here.
no,
Which-
that's not correct.
No?
No.
Okay, okay.
Not in the IOP. You might have to set up some settings for those interfaces, but most of the settings for the interfaces are going to be the global settings, which we're going to get into next. And then those settings and the global won't even be in this list for individual workstations. But again, most of these are already going to be set up, like that's why during the OA, we ask you so many questions on how you want things set up, is because we're going to set it up for you. But we just like to show you this in case you have to change something. You can click on, a setting, and down here, it'll give you like a brief description. Something about the patron card format, it could be, that's a bad example because I don't even know what that means with this setting. But like slot games, enable toggle, allow a workstation to modify is active or override Theo columns. Do you want this on or off? So 0 is always off, 1 is always on. Table game default stack size, it's basically saying what's the default of your casino chips. That's always going to be 20. VIP tracking timer. All right. And how many seconds do you want the auto refresh? You can change the seconds for the auto refresh. But most of the ones that you guys are changing here is like how many minutes until the employee's logged out with no activity, on Synchros. Like I think the default is like 15 minutes. So if I have Synchros open and I don't do anything in Synchros for 15 minutes, it's going to log me out. It's just like a security setting. You can go in and you can change that setting to 30 minutes if you want. How many tries do I have to log in, if I put in the wrong password? I think default is like 3 times. You can, change that number to 5 or, whatever you guys want. Next is our GST settings.
Would that, since you said that supersedes the DST property, wouldn't that mean that that option would only be available at that workstation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it's defaulted at 15 minutes for logout and I want my workstation to be 30, I can go into my IOP and change it to 30, and then my workstation will be 30, the rest of the casino would be 15. Property copy is basically copying one IOP settings to another workstation, which is awesome. Because let's say I want to copy, Jesus. All right, all of my laptop settings to training 01. I can hit that, I can hit process, and all the settings that I set up in my laptop would then get copied to the training 01 workstation. It's just an easy way to, say we usually use it for the cage windows because the cage windows are all you know, different terminals, but we want the same settings on all of them. We'll set up cage window 1, which, setting up takes, 20, 30 minutes. And then we just go to cage window 2, copy cage window 1 settings to cage window 2, done. Go to the next one, copy, done. And then our GSTs, which is our game site settings. Same thing. You got all your settings. You can go in. You can filter these as well. If I toggle my filter, I can look for a specific setting. Well, if I go like custom, and I go contains the word lock, I can hit OK. And there you go. Patron merge lockout period. Profile password lock time. All right. Number of days the user account remains locked after failed login. All right. This is saying 0.34 days. So, it might be like an hour and a half, and then you can try to log back in. That's basically the same setting.
It's almost like a GST properties is like the collection of all admin rights. Like anything setting that you would want to change that you would do at an administrative level, it's almost like they're all in one spot in GST properties, and that they're global. So when you make a change, just know that it's going everywhere.
Yep.
Plus, most things require the end users to log out and back in once you've applied them, or to take effect if it affects people at a local level.
Yeah, but then here's that, so here's your password grace period. All right. So it's basically saying number of days for the user to change password. This is saying every 30 days you're gonna have to go in and change your password. You can click on the property value, change that and say, 60, save it, and now every 60 days you're gonna have to change your password. This is your failed login attempts, like I said. How many attempts do you have before you get locked out? There's a lot of these, are, back end settings that you won't even worry about. But, some of those you might want to come in here and change. If there's a property in here that you can't find that, you want to activate, you can hit set new property. And that's going to give you a list of all the GSTs that are not set up in your system.
And there's a lot of them.
There is a lot of them. There are. There's so many settings. It's unreal. But yeah.
Also,
So is there-
sometimes
And
Go
then
ahead.
the property category, you can go to like different business areas and look at the GSTs just for that business area. So if I go to Cage,
Uh-huh.
These
And-
are the GSTs that are set up just for Cage.
And can you print that out?
What's that?
And could you print those out? Like, could you print it out, what the settings are? Like if I have an auditor comes and tells me I need to see all your password settings, which happens.
There's got to be yeah, right here. So there's a game site property changes report. That's everything that was changed.
Yeah, I need,
There's
Yeah,
got to be a report for that.
I don't think so. There may be something that you could generate out of Discover or
Yeah,
Oracle
yeah.
Analytics
If
for
it's
it,
not in here, you can definitely make it in Discover. Or
but you have to
well,
go.
you guys are actually getting Oracle Analytics, and I believe the
Mhm.
Bell is upgrading to Oracle Analytics as well. It's the same concept as Discover. It's just it's newer. There's more options. It's like the upgrade, basically.
If I'm not mistaken, when you go into password maintenance, though, doesn't it tell you what the options are? Like what's your defined, how long it's got to be, when it expires, and all that stuff?
Not in password maintenance, no. Nope, all that is set up here.
Well, not where it's set up, just does it show it? Like just a reference to it, you know?
The only reference that is in password maintenance is the requirements for a password.
I didn't tell you like number of days that before that password expires and stuff like that.
No,
Okay.
where is it? No, it just gives you the requirements for your password. And that's really about it. But any other questions about the system settings? All right, Nina, just to remind you, let me know when you have to go let those people in that room.
Oh, I'm too late. Nobody was in the room anyway. They would have called. They didn't.
Oh, okay,
So I'm good.
excellent.
Yeah, it was 10 o'clock my time.
Oh, so yeah, see, you said 10 o'clock and like, I'm at it's 9:41 by me now, so. It's almost 9:45, so I'm reminding you, sorry,
No, I do appreciate it though.
very confusing. All right, number 7, system admin site defaults. Again, these are going to be set up for you. But if you did have to go in and change anything, this is where you would do it. But your site defaults, all right, we're gonna get all this information from you guys. We're gonna set this up. Your country, your currency, your federal tax ID, state tax ID, any email servers, non-shift logons allowed. That just means if, your shift, your shift is noon to 8 and it's past 8 p.m., are you allowing employees to log in? I've never seen this unchecked, like they always just allow it because, if you have to work a 10-hour day that day. And then the show Social Security and EIN field, that is for the employee form.
Let me ask you something. Does that show SSN EIN field have to be checked for that EIN field to show up anywhere?
No,
Because it doesn't show up on reporting anywhere by default. So do you?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. It will never show Social Security number
Not that, but
anywhere
EIN
on
field.
reporting.
EIN, yeah.
But the employee number, the only way you can get that on a report is Discover or Oracle Analytics.
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't show up in any reporting.
Actually, okay.
Patron settings. This actually should be checkmarked. Someone's messing around in my train instance. But patron must use PIN numbers. So if this is unchecked like it was, when I insert a new patron on the Patron One Touch form and I go to hit save, it's not going to make me put in a PIN number. All right. So then when I print out that card, if that new patron has like free play or anything, they're not going to have a PIN number to download their free play. So this should always be check marked. And then patron cards are pre-printed. Nobody uses this anymore because that's basically saying your patron cards are pre-printed and they're all the same. And when you insert a new player, you just have a stack of cards. You just hand them one and they go ahead and use it, which is it's not even assigned to them. So I wish they would just erase that. Local address field. How do you want to define your locals? Usually it's by postal code, zip code. And then significant transaction amount, 10,000. And then this it's for multi-site. It's just for like if you lose power, what's your max voucher that you can have print out of the machine to cash out?
Hey, as a side note, can you go back to game site tab? The federal tax ID, state tax ID, local, the email server addresses and everything. What if you plug these in site defaults? Don't you also have to turn those on in the GST properties too? Because we had an issue where we had to.
You have to turn them on in a GST property, so it will show up on the W-2.
There you go. Yeah.
So
All right.
this is your site defaults. It's basically for your, reporting purposes. All right. So
Yeah.
this is your federal tax ID. This is your state tax ID. So if anyone ever asked you that question, you can go here and say, yes, this is the number. For it to show up on the W-2, it has to be set up in a GST. Yes.
Yes, so just by defining it within here, you're only defining it for the purposes of referencing it, I guess, and then.
Yeah, this is reference purposes. Yep.
Okay, yes, because just like these email addresses for email alerts to work, they have to be defined in GSTs also.
Yep.
All right, cool, thanks.
Yep. Again, we went over that. The devices tab, these are also set up, basically saying, so tables automatically balance at closing. That's used if you start off the day with a set amount in each table. And you want to end your day with that exact set amount for each table. So you basically have that amount for the morning, for the next day. If you check mark that, it won't let you close the table without getting a fill or a credit to make it have that exact amount. Tables print closer slip, print opener. That's just saying, yeah, you want to print your closure and opener. Tables automatically open at closing. You need this check marked because it'll give you the option of rolling your table. So are you guys 24 hours? Are you going to be 24 hours?
We are 24 hours, yes.
And when's your gaming day end?
It's a secret.
All right. Well, I'll just use the example of 4 a.m. All right. If your gaming day ends at 4 a.m. and your table is still open and you still have players, well, you're still gonna have to roll that table to the next shift because at 4 a.m. is your next shift. So this gives you that option saying, okay, I want to close my table, but I want to automatically reopen it after I close it. So then I'll hit that option on the tables, and then it'll literally open up that table on the next shift after I hit close. And then this automatically print, it's just basically saying it's not going to ask me if I want to print. It's just when I hit, complete fill or, request fill, it's automatically going to print in the cage that fill slip without asking. Enter data for tables and machines by value. This is basically saying if I leave this unchecked, it'll let me plug in data for count. To go a little further in that, it's basically saying, all right, if I want to put in a fill for $500 in green. Well, I'm not going to put $500. I'm just going to put 20 in the count column because 20 green chips is $500. No one ever uses count. This is always check marked. It's always by value. Put in the dollar amount. And then, you won't use that, but, the current date time on slot vouchers, basically when they print the slot voucher, do you want the current date and time on there? Yes, of course you do. If you guys are doing foreign exchange, you can set up fees for foreign exchange. If you select none, that means you'll do your foreign exchange for free. You could set up a flat fee saying, every foreign exchange transaction, you guys are gonna give us $10 out of your transaction. Or you can do by percent. You know, I'm gonna take 2% of your foreign exchange for our fee. Or you can do 2% per $100, or 2% over a certain amount, like over $1,000. I'm gonna take 2% of $100, only over 1,000. Or you can do both. You can charge a flat fee and a percentage. Is a patron ID required for foreign exchange? And if it's not, you can set up a limit for uncarded. And you could say, 3,000, anything over 3,000, you have to have a card or a ID. And our exchange rate is reciprocal. So if I give you $100 of Chinese yen, and you give me 52 American dollars, if I come back with 52 American dollars, you're going to give me back my 100 yen. That's reciprocal. Normally, it's not like that. I was in Mexico one time. I gave them $100. They gave me 7,000 of pesos. And then I came back, I gave them 7,000 pesos and they gave me $86. I was like, how does that work? If it was reciprocal, they would have given me back my 100. And then your credit. Are markers pre-printed? No. If they were, it's basically saying you have a stack of pre-printed markers with marker numbers. And if this was checkmarked, that basically opens up a field on the marker form, allowing me to type in the marker number that's already pre-printed to keep track of that. But you put in your maximum amount, over the credit limit, approval for a marker. If you guys let them go over the credit, if you guys let them go over, amount or percentage over their credit limit, nobody really does that. They would just have to, assign them a TTO. So these are usually 0. Default number of days to hold a marker, number of days until the marker clears. Check information, same thing. And then a maximum payroll check allowed without an ID that you would cash. Any questions on defaults?
No.
All right, system admin, site setup. So kind of like the patron setup, these are going to be all of your your drop downs for your address, email, phone types on the site maintenance form. You can add a new email type if you want. Just hit the add button. Same thing with address types. But if I go to system admin site maintenance, there it is, right above it. This is your game site. All right, your game site name is Casino Queen Hollywood or Hollywood Casino. Your database, IP, all your information. This is all going to be, preloaded for you as well. Casino class, what class games you have. And again, that your, the address of your casino, telephone of your casino, email of your casino. Shifts. You're only going to have one. All right. Because you're only rolling your gaming day once. There are casinos that they actually roll their gaming day 3 times a day. So they roll it for day shift, they roll it for swing, and then they roll it for grave. Casinos that do that, a lot of them, it's a lot of work. You have to reconcile everything, and you have to roll your table games, at the end of each shift. And some casinos, set up like this, and they wanted to say, they wanted to go back and just do once per day. Well, in Synchros, you cannot go backwards. So you can start with rolling your gaming day once, and then you can go more. But once you go more and you save that, you cannot go backwards. That's just defining your shifts. So you guys will have one shift, and I don't know what your gaming day is, but it'll say, it'll be from 4 a.m. to 3:59 a.m. if it was 4 a.m. Define local patrons. Is where you will define your local patrons. So that other setup, it defined the local patrons by zip code. All right. So you can literally go here, and I'm just going to type in NV for Nevada, and I'm going to type in LAS for Las Vegas. That is it. Why is it not there? That's weird. Oh, it's probably because, it's already in here. Yeah. Oh, I think because it's already in here, it's not in this list. But yeah, you would choose your city, obviously, and then why is this messing with me? I don't know. But yeah, choose your city, choose any postal code in your area, and then you would move it over. Maybe if I do that. No, still can't find Las Vegas. All right, that's fun. But yeah, choose your postal code and then move it over, and then I'll define your locals. Any questions about the game site maintenance? A lot of these, like the site defaults, game site maintenance, it's, kind of like, set it up, and then you'll never change anything in here. It is 12 o'clock. Where do I got here? Oh, we're almost done. You guys mind if I finish up real quick? I know we're gonna go over a couple minutes. I'll go through it real fast.
Yeah, I'm good. Go ahead.
Sound good? All right, it's just system admin, patron setup. It's kind of the same thing as the site setup and defaults. So your patron setup. These are gonna be all the drop downs on the patron custom form. So your attendance, play preference, address, emails, phones, anniversary, note types. Card is one of the most important ones, all right? So obviously you're not gonna have 13 different card types, but you will have your card tiers. And then these ratios are all gonna be set at 1. So it's just, multiplying your points by 1, which is not giving anything extra. Your default card type is gonna be the lowest tier. Basically, any new patron is gonna get the default. Foreign exchange, this is if you're gonna reserve your machines, if you're gonna allow your players to reserve machines. The color of your cards, do they have access to call the attendant or to order a drink from the slot machine? Extended point expiration days, if you wanted to give certain tier levels, more days before their points expire. Same thing with comp points. Contact info, like I said, these are all just the options for the drop downs. Other IDs, passports, military IDs. That is patron setup. So everything in your patron form. I can show you that real quick. Go here. So this is the patron form. Like I said, so your address, it defines all the drop downs in here. And on the account tab, it'll give you your card type list. Duplication check. So system admin, dupe check. This is what you're going to set up when you scan an ID into the system, a brand new player, and you hit save. It's going to try to find similar fields, so you don't put in duplicate patrons. And this is where you would set that up. So your patron name, first name, the transposition is basically saying if the first name gets scanned into the last name field or vice versa, it's still going to look for that name in both places. It's going to look for, the same addresses in the system. It's going to look for the same date of births and the same driver's license number. All right, so the number of fields in here, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be the score on the duplication box. That's going to pop up in Patron One Touch. And then you can do your comparison if you do like custom mask. Custom mask is basically saying I can look at the first 3 letters, or your start index would be 1, and then your end would be 3, and that'd be like in every field I'm going to look for the first 3 letters of the first name and last name to see if they match. Case sensitive or sound X. Your sound X is does it sound like, in those fields. And then the fields. You can choose how many fields are going to be inside that duplication box. Any questions on that? Your form editor, we will get into the form editor more. It's basically, your form editor allows you to create custom forms. All right. So the default patrons form, the patron maintenance form, is going to look like this. All right. You're going to have your contacts, your interests, ID. That form editor allows you to create your own. So you can basically say, what tabs do I want to look at? And I can also have a side tab with some quick information. So basically, if I find one here, I can show you how it's all set up. So like, let's say the PTN slots. All right, so I named my form. My first tab, I want the full patron form. And then what are my next tabs? So in order. All right, so I want my account tabs where I can reprint cards first. Then my contacts tab. The contact's going to have your address, phone number, email. Then the dates is your sign up date and first rating date. Your ID, so on and so forth. And then these are going to be the options on that left. That the quick information on that left tab there, and you can set those up. And same thing, these are insert deletes. Choose your order number. It has to be unique, so I can't have two of number one order numbers. And then you could choose your item, like if you want player history or you want to see their points and so on and so forth. But you can create your own patron maintenance forms.
Now, is that for everyone, or you can do per
We can do per department.
or?
Yep.
Okay.
You can do per department, and then once you create a form, you could go into the roles, and then you would have to assign that form to each role.
Okay.
Yep. Asset management, we have our POS and kiosk maintenance. This is where you're going to input your kiosks and POS, your point of sales. Do I have any in here? Yeah, I got a couple. So let's just say, we have every kiosk. You're going to set it up. So your kiosk mode, where is your kiosk, in what zone, where it's located, the unit ID. If you want to put in accounting details, that's totally up to you. It's just for, reference purposes. But then your manufacturer, all right. So your manufacturer is it's every kiosk. You have to put in your master prom, game prom, which your master prom is the game, so it's going to be a kiosk, and then the game prom is actually your OS, your operating service. And then the S2S ID, if you have that, insert that. You need your MAC address and your IP address, so the terminal can actually talk to Synchros. You won't have a calculation package for kiosk, but you might for POS. And then make it active, so it can actually have some information. And then you can set up, if you do have purchases on your kiosk, you can set up the indexes. This is where the indexes for the kiosk will go. Then any other information on your kiosk, if you want, resources, if you do comps, certain comps that they can see on the kiosk, any notes. And then same thing for POS. You would choose where it's located on the floor. What your asset number is. See if I can set up here. Let's go here. Same thing. Your manufacturer, your model number, the client ID, the IP address, and then calculation package. So if you guys set up to where your patrons can earn points through POS, you would set up a calculation package, make it active, and then again, you can make certain purchases, earn certain points. you can put, your percentages in there. And then custom notes, any notes, and then also micro reports. There should be a list of micro reports for your, kiosk and POS. And then last but not least is batch reporting. This is a very cool feature. I recommend setting this up. So batch reports, all right, you can put, name it your, maybe your shift report. Description could be the same. Make it active. Reoccurrence. If I hit change, all right, I can make this report go out, once a day. I can make go out once a week. I'm going to say daily, every single day. If I don't want weekends, I could just do every weekday. Range occurrence. All right, so I'm going to start it today. There's going to be no end date. But I could end this. No end date. It's just gonna do it every day. And I could do it at a specific time. All right. So I could set this up for day shift, graveyard, and swing. Right. This one I'm just gonna do for day shift. All right. So I'm gonna end my day shift at it's military time. So 8 o'clock PM. All right. My day shift is from noon to 8. Why did that work? Oh, I gotta go down. Oh, I guess it's not a military time. Most of these are military time. I don't know why this one is not. But I'm gonna set it up. It's gonna this batch report is gonna go out at 8 PM every day. Forever until I go in here and change it. And then it'll show what my reoccurrence is. Once I go to my reports, so I could put my master gaming report in there. If I want to see my free play, comparison reports, any report that you have to send at the end of your shift, you can put in here. All right. And then once I have my reports here, I can click on those reports, and these are going to be my parameters. All right. So my gaming date, I can do relative to, uh, one day from now. So it's basically just going to say when the report sends, it's going to send the report for tomorrow. Or I could do one day ago. Or I could do current day, which is what I want. I'm not going to put a date in there because I'm just going to do current day. For whatever day it is, I'm going to hit OK. I don't need a second value because it won't let me click in there. And then include promo is basically saying, do I want to include promo, promotion vouchers or chips or anything? I'll put yes. I'll hit OK. Second value, I don't need anything in there. That one's done. I go to my next report, fill in the parameters. Again, everything with double asterisk is mandatory. The other ones are not. So I can do current day again. Hit OK. And then the next one is sort by. I can just do location. And then I'm done with that one. Then you go to your next one. And then distribution. All right. Your emails have to be set up in Syncros to enable to be in this list. Okay. So for these reports, I want these reports to go to audit, and marketing. All right. Like I said, the emails and your role. Once your email set up in Synchros, your name will come here and then it'll actually go under what role you are. And then once I save that, this report with these reports are going to go out every day at 8 p.m. to all of these emails. And that is it. That is your system admin, guys. Obviously there is, a bunch of more settings and stuff, but like I said, a lot of this stuff ties to different modules. But if there is a question on anything, I'll be happy to go over it with you during the Go Live training, which will be the middle of August. Any other questions?
No.
I have a question. Is there a knowledge base for this training?
Is there a what?
A knowledge base on the website so that we can see pictures in case we want to? Or is it just use the help?
I would use the help.
Okay,
There's that's your best bet.
all right.
We also have training
none-
guides that we will
none-
send as well.
none
I
of
mean,
the,
you can use
uh,
those as reference.
None
So
of the
there-
InfoSync local stuff is covered in system admin training.
No, because not everyone uses that. And I don't have, like a reference to train from.
Okay.
But you know what? That's not a bad idea to go over that for sure. I mean, Terrence usually goes over that, during Go Live. But yeah, that's not a bad idea. I can ask if we can like get a generic, setup that we can train off of.
It's got some useful information in it, but I don't use it all the time, but periodically I will pop into it as far as, especially when you guys run your monthly DB maintenance, I'll go in and check the status of everything after I get the update that it's been done. And, also, there's a certain amount of technical information, if I'm not mistaken, in it also. And then, also if you go out to the Konami website, there is a lot of documentation in the portal. If you guys go ahead and set up, I'll send you guys the links to the Konami web portal. And if you create your accounts, when you log in, that's how you'll create all your help desk tickets and everything through that portal. And in that portal is all the documentation on every version of it. And also like what's included in the different versions of it. And there's a lot of helpful information in there. Because most times when you're troubleshooting with them, they're going to reference you to those docs. So if you already got access to that, y'all can start browsing that now.
Yeah, we usually show all that stuff during Go Live because there will actually be data in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, relevant to we know they're going 410R3, so I mean, it's the odd thing about the documentation though is you don't have like or unless it's been created recently, you don't have a 410R3 document that states the entirety of the system, including 410R3. You have every version as it's changed with those particular changes in that version. So there's not that I found anything, like a global document that shows all the current system settings and how it works to this point in one document. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I pretty sure I'm right on that. That it's
I'm pretty sure I saw an email. Alex, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It was either last week or the week before that we do have those documents now. They just updated everything. I'll have to find out where to get those.
Neto's on this call?
What's that?
I didn't realize Alex was on this call. Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Well,
All right, anything else, guys?
Nope, I have to go, so thank
All
you
right,
very
well,
much.
thank you very much. I'm gonna end this
Uh-huh.
meeting. And I will see Sync 31 people at
All right, thank you.
1 o'clock.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you, everyone.